What's up everybody, my name is Slodic and welcome to the very first RNG analysis. Today we'll be looking at the Shaman card Maelstrom Portal that was just released in the recent Karazhan expansion. This 2 mana, 1 damage AoE that summons a random 1-drop actually has an impact on the metagame and the competitive scene of Hearthstone. Pros have been testing this card as well as the new weapon Spirit Claws, primarily in a more mid-rangey Shaman deck. When looking at the quality of 1-drops that this card produces, I will be focusing on how they synergize with competitive or borderline competitive decks. Now, let's take a look at these 1-drops. Let's start by looking at the bad outcomes of a Maelstrom Portal. 1-drops that fit into this category are 1 attack, 1 health minions with no real effect. By no effect, I either mean battle cries that won't activate due to the way they are summoned by Maelstrom Portal, or having auras that don't offer much to a normal Shaman deck. There are 6 1 mana 1/1s with battle cries that don't activate. Forbidden Ancient, Babbling Book, Reliquary Seeker, N'Zoth's First Mate, Swashbuckler, and Elder Archer. There are 2 minions with worthless auras. The first one is Timberwolf, and unless you are running Yogg-Saron and manage to get a Call of the Wild, its aura is not particularly useful. The second minion is Grimscale Oracle, whose aura is useless in a normal mid-range Shaman, but I will look at the viability of running this card in Murloc Shaman later on. Another bad 1-drop is Angry Chicken, whose Enrage is not going to activate unless you're running Primal Fusion. And lastly, for bad 1-drops, we have Shifter Xeris, whose card text does nothing since he was never in your hand in the first place. The quality of these 1-drops may be slightly higher if for whatever reason you feel like running Youthful or Ancient Brewmaster, both of which I do not recommend. Altogether, there are 10 bad outcomes out of the total 55 1-drops, meaning that there's around an 18% chance to get a useless 1/1. Next up are the average 1-drops. There are 4 1 health, 1 damage minions that were able to sneak their way into the average category. The first 2 are Young Dragonhawk and Stonetusk Boar. Young Dragonhawk has the potential to deal 6 damage the next turn with the help of Flame Tongue Totem, and if you manage to avoid the 1 damage hero power. And Stonetusk Boar can find you that last bit of damage for lethal, or the last 3 points if you have Flame Tongue Totem. Leper Gnome guarantees 2 damage to face and can close out a game where you might be lacking the last bit of damage, and Tentacle of N'Zoth might initially seem like a bad outcome, but due to the fact that you just cast a board clear, getting a minion that helps clear the board even more is generally a good thing. Since the average stats for 1-drop is around 2.5, vanilla 1/2s find themselves in the average category. Most of these cards have no effect, but Light Warden has the potential to be buffed by cards like Healing Wave. On the flip side, we have vanilla 2/1s. 2 attack, 1 health minions are generally better since they can trade up, but are more vulnerable to 1 damage hero powers. The only unique minion with this stat line is Brave Archer, which could find some value in a hyper-aggressive Shaman deck that runs out of cards quickly, but other than that, is practically useless. Altogether, there are 15 average outcomes out of the total 55 1-drops, meaning that there's around a 27% chance to get an average minion. Above average, we have the good 1-drops. The first card in this category is Blood Imp, which is beneficial due to Shaman's hero power and its ability to buff totems. Next, we have the 2 eggs, which are only good due to their synergy with Flame Tongue Totem. The last 0 attack minion is Shield Bearer, which is a fairly substantial taunt for a 1-drop and will often soak more than 4 damage. The 1/1s that are classified as good have very strong effects such as Zealous Initiate, synergizing with Shaman hero power, and Possessed Villager and Archon Squire being able to make good trades with the help of Flame Tongue Totem. Goldshire Footman finds himself in this group solely because he is a taunt, Lowly Squire has the potential to grow and trade up, and Secret Keeper might benefit from Hunters and Mages not knowing their secrets buff enemy Secret Keepers. 1 mana 1/3s have higher stats than the average, but these 3 particular cards have no effect when summoned off Maelstrom Portal. The category of good also houses many 2/1s, with decent effects such as stealth, taunt, or buffing themselves or other minions. Buccaneer in particular can be incredibly strong if used to buff Doomhammer, and Southsea Deckhand may finish off your opponent's last bit of life if you have a weapon equipped. A vanilla 2/2 is also considered good. Altogether, there are 20 good outcomes out of the total 55 1-drops, meaning that there's around a 36% chance to get a good minion. The last category of 1-drops are the great ones. These minions can generally make a huge impact on a game and occasionally win it for you. Fiery Bat, Selfless Hero, and Pit Snake are all very strong cards that will often trade up or buff an important minion if you manage to dodge the 1 damage hero power. Flame Imp and Injured Valdir are considered great due to how much stats you get for just 1 mana. Dust Devil can be insane if it lives, and can chunk your opponent for a great deal of health. Northshire Cleric has good stats and synergizes with Healing Totem, giving you the potential to draw a few cards for free. Voidwalker is just an all-around great taunt, and Mana Worm will often grow similar to how it grows in Temple Mage, due to how many spells Shaman tend to run in either their aggro or mid-range builds. Finally, we have the best one-drop you can get off Maelstrom Portal, and it's Tunnel Trog. Now, Tunnel Trog is basically a Mana Worm on steroids. It gets huge buff from cards like Totem Golem, Flame Wreath Faceless, and Lightning Storm. I mean, you already run 2 in your deck, so obviously you'll take another one for free. This card has the potential to get out of control very fast and synergizes with the majority of viable Shaman cards. To me, Tunnel Trog is the clear winner of best one-drop in almost any Shaman deck imaginable. Altogether, there are 10 great outcomes out of the total 55 one-drops, meaning that there's around an 18% chance to get a game-changing or game-winning card. Very briefly, I want to talk about some specific scenarios you might cast Maelstrom Portal. The first scenario is when you need to get a taunt minion to survive another turn. There are 4 taunts you can get off Maelstrom Portal. Tournament Attendee, which has 1 health, Goldshire Footman with 2 health, Voidwalker with 3 health, and finally Shield Bearer with a whopping 4 health. This means there's a 4 out of 55 chance to just roll a taunt minion, or around 7%. Another scenario that might come up is needing direct damage to kill your opponent. There are 2 charge minions that you can get off Maelstrom Portal. The first one is Stone Tusk Boar, which deals 1 damage, and the second is Southsea Deckhand, which deals 2, but needs a weapon equipped. Overall, there's a 2 out of 55, or around 4% chance, to roll a charge minion. It's important to note that there are also indirect ways to damage an opponent, such as Leper Gnome, Fiery Bat, Brave Archer, or Buccaneer if you're able to buff a weapon. The last thing I want to talk about is the viability of running this card in Murloc Shaman. Although it is universally known that Murloc Shaman is not a good deck, there are 5 different Murlocs that you can roll off Maelstrom Portal. Grimskill Oracle and Murloc Tidecaller are generally pretty strong cards, so this might be a fun card to use if you are good at rolling 1 out of 11s. To wrap things up, Maelstrom Portal has a lot of different outcomes that range from a useless Elven Archer to a game-winning Tunnel Trog. It also has the chance to save you with taunts, or find that last bit of damage with chargers to finish off your opponent. Have fun playing this card, and good luck, because you're definitely gonna need it.